Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaronism, back with another video for you today. I wanted to point out a few things about NASA, or Roscosmos, or ESA, or JAXA. It doesn't really matter who, they're all faking us in the same ways. So on the screen now we have a NASA training session. This is usually done in the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, and this is when they practice in the pool with scuba divers nearby. So I want to point out first that there's these cameras and lights that we can see them often holding. In a minute I'll show you this in what they call an actual spacewalk, but we'll see that it's really just taking place probably in a pool. Usually you have a few scuba divers tending to the astronauts, and then a few are holding these cameras or lights. You can see that some are different colors, some are gray, some are beige, some are black. Now it is my belief that this is an actual real practice for when they do spacewalks, because I don't think that they're actually in space. They're either in a pool or in a studio with wires. Of course they do both. If they only did one way of tricking you, if you ever found out, they'd be done. But by using different methods, you can never really pinpoint one way, and so that's how they continue to trick us. If you have seen the movie Interstellar or Gravity, then you know that it's very easy to take out wires and harnesses. And if you've seen the show The Big Bang, there's a few clips where they're actually on the ISS and they're actually using stools. It's really quite easy to edit out and to fool an unaware human race. Pretty pathetic if you ask me. They fool us and even reward each other with Nobel Prizes and other such accolades because of the level of mastery in dumbing down society. When you realize that there is no live spacewalks, you should then realize that there is a chance that you've been fooled. Many can't even entertain that thought. They have been built up with ego that they are so smart it's not possible they could be fooled ever. People think because they can catch sight of the ISS go over their head that it means people must be inside it. No other possibilities, I guess. Well, when you realize that you can see it at night, when you can't verify from the ISS that it can see you, and you can see the ground when the ISS passes during the day, but you can't see it from the ground, and the fact that there's no 24/7 camera feed from the ISS showing the Earth because it does not exist and has never existed. And for those people who will just drop a link in the comment section to Space Videos or another channel that claims to show the ISS in live 24/7 viewing, please follow that link and check for yourself. There is no 24/7 camera. It's never existed now, nor has it existed in the 17 years that the tin can of science has been in perpetual orbit of the Earth. Yeah, it's pretty clear it's all a scam, and let me show you some evidence of that. First off, just remember that they always, 100% of the time, use scuba divers in practice. Well, this isn't logical at all. Since the astronauts will not have any assistance in space if their tethers get caught or they have one of the cables hooked around something that if you yanked or pulled could cause a potential problem, then it would only make sense that if in the few final rounds of practice that they did it without the aid of several scuba divers per astronaut. But nope, as you can see, they are carried around and constantly assisted by the scuba team. Also, since space will be dark, why wouldn't they practice in the pool with the lights off? Well, the obvious answer is because then it would look just like space, and they don't want you seeing that. Here we can see the cameras and lights are again circled in red, and we also see circled in white the sign often given for OK, or as many of us have come to realize, the 666 hand signal. So you can see how the scuba divers act, that they are hiding at the bottom of the pool or making sure to stay out of the way of the astronauts. And so the other day, Antonio Subirats put out a video where he saw a scuba diver in space. Now, funny thing is, I told my wife a while back when we realized that these astronauts are being assisted by scuba divers even in so-called space, I told her that if we ever saw a scuba diver, that it would likely be in a helmet reflection. And so let's take a look at what Antonio found.
And here's one of them, videoing this astronaut. You can see him in the reflection there. Can you see him? There he is, all dressed in black. Can you see now? Oh, if only the reflection was a bit better. Oh, there you go. Now can you see him? Can you see the shadow trooper? It's not really, it's a scuba diver.
And so a great find by Antonio, as usually this would be edited out, but clearly you can see that when we watch here, we can see the camera or light being held by the scuba diver, and you can even see his legs down to his flippers, which are slightly hidden. But if you look a little bit to the right, you'll see what looks like another set of flippers flapping away. So yeah, a great find by Antonio, because of course they edit this out, and it would be a rare find to find such a mistake. But since during spacewalks they don't usually show the Earth, it's never live. They have from 10 seconds to even more than a day to edit out anything that might give away the trick. So here they missed. You can see that he is holding the light or camera, filming this astronaut in a dark tank or pool of heavily salinated water, which increases buoyancy, and it's obviously filtered, which increases the clarity. That, folks, is your precious space agency. Here's the control room, which would never need to be so robust if this were only for practice. These people are practicing live edits, and for example, this image here shows something quite telling. If you've ever used chroma key or green screening or even PNG transparent images, then you know what we're looking at and what use it serves. Now take a look at this guy. Looks like he is working in a DoD or NATO bunker, where clearly you can see the launch and rocket views that we all see from home that many people swear by must be true, because they see a rocket launch and it goes off into the sky, and then next thing you know they get an image on the screen that couldn't possibly be anyone fooling you. No, it must be the real footage. Well, just by looking at this we can clearly see that this is being done in a studio. And as I always say, don't trust me, do your own research. However, if you ever find any actual proof of space travel, spacewalks, or any of the NASA propaganda, please share it with us who can't find a lick. I mean, clearly, these things are in a warehouse. Another big clue is located right on the wall at the NASA training facility, the NBL, or Neutral Buoyancy Lab. You'll see a mural of Vitruvian Man, but he's actually a half astronaut, or he's morphing into an astronaut. You'll see the scuba diver coming over to assist with a tool, but extremely telling is if you look up in the upper left, you'll see a rocket breaking through a dome or other enclosure. Interesting indeed. Of course, all the evidence you need is easily found. For example, you don't need this big curved screen and big ball with a track going around it unless you are faking the moon landings. You don't need this guy painting every intricate detail of the moon unless you're faking the moon landings. They will see images from the cupola and not realize that what is being seen is a trick. Of course, you can't see a ball like this from where the ISS claims to be, only 250 miles above the Earth. Here you can see that the Earth is bent, as is the Soyuz craft, as are the solar panels, both at the right and left top and middle. It's all a trick. We can easily turn any image into a ball, as done here and here. This type of trickery, or augmented photography, is not even high-tech at this point in time, with the needed tools to do so existing on people's iPhones. Here we see a deception of the view of someone living on a ball. At 250 miles, your view would be so small, and to see a ball with black around the edges would be simply impossible. You would need to be at least an Earth diameter away, possibly more. Here we can see the red dot at almost 12,000 miles away, and at that distance one might be able to see what they pretend to see from 250 miles up. So it's all tricks. Many people see a picture of the shuttle like this and argue that it could not possibly be fake. Look how real it is. It's not possible. Well, the image you are looking at now is in fact very fake. It is a miniature built by a company helping those fake the world for 40 plus years. They are called Wonderworks. The top of their site says, "Gateway to the stars of stage, screen, NASA, and private aerospace for 40 plus years." It says Wonderworks is a full-service design and production company servicing the film, theme park, and museum industries, where the client list includes NASA, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, SpaceX, Dragon, X Prize, Space Camp, Challenger Center, Spielberg, Lucas, Disney, Universal, GM, Ford, Chrysler, Rockwell, and the Smithsonian Museum. With a project list that spans the globe, Wonderworks provides clients with an extensive history of knowledge, creativity, cutting-edge technology, and a commitment to detail in all of our replicas and spacesuits. We are not a hobby store or a toy store. We do not sell Halloween costumes. There are many excellent sources for those products, but we specialize in realism. So, as we take a look at their webpage, you can see many facets of their operation. You can also see many images that many people would put their reputation on. This is definitely a floating astronaut taking a picture of the Earth from space out a window, when in actuality it's just a set. Just like this, another set of the ISS. So for those who think it's not possible that we could ever be tricked, they should realize that it's in fact very possible and at least deserves to be looked into. And when you realize that there is no proof of everything that NASA's been telling us for 60 years, then maybe we can, as a human race, end the deception. Let's continue on looking. We can see different methods of portraying astronauts. Over here on the left side, we see an image that shows a interesting way of showing an astronaut in space with a black backdrop and the camera looking from above. You'll see here he's fixing a satellite with a camera on a track, and these are just some of the clues that tell us how easy it is to fake us. This astronaut here certainly looks to be suspended in space. He's floating, but in actuality he's got some sort of harness which can be easily edited out. So as we continue on, we'll take a look at a couple more of these images just to show you really how easy it is. Here we've got some people floating about. Again, does this mean that it's real? Of course not. This is all done by the magic of movies. So let's continue on with what else they've got. They've got some spacesuit rental, space shuttle rental. Let's look. Here's the interior of the space shuttle. You can see these are just replicas. We've got another interior shot here. Again, you show this to somebody, they're going to claim it's real. We've got a interesting image here of the control panel. Again, it's got lights. It must be real, right? Nope. I beg to differ. We've got the shuttle being built inside the Cow Palace in San Francisco. It says it takes like 24 hours to build the entire replica shuttle. We've got these people who are obviously people that love to fake you. Hello, we'll fake you. Sure, hire us. And as I showed before, here's the image of the space shuttle that many people would swear is real, when actually it is just a miniaturized version put together by one of their creative artists. And you'll see here that there's another image down there. You can see it says that it's all faked. A mini image here, and how easy it would be for NASA to film these things, show it to you on a TV screen, and you would think it's real. If you remember the show Space Cadets, which was a UK show about faking people that they were in space, that was also done by this same company. Of course, we've got more. We've got an astronaut floating in the cargo bay of the shuttle, and lots of miniature versions. Here we've got a lunar module, a lunar lander. Here's the LEM. And you'll see many of these things have been used in many movies. Here we've got from Apollo 13, the splashdown scene, filmed by them with a backdrop and a green screen, and of course, faked. Here we've got a shuttle in the desert. Here we've got another miniature version of the shuttle at launch, because those really need to be built, except for when you're faking people out. Here's some more pictures from the actual show Space Cadets. Again, they faked some teens or mid-teens, whatever they are, that they were going to space. Here we've got more pictures which clearly show the curvature of the Earth. Morons. We've known that for thousands of years. It curves because everything we've ever been shown curves, so therefore it must be curved, because you can't fake me out. Even though I can't go to space, you can't ever fool me. Down there you'll see the solid rocket boosters in miniature form, because of course they're faked. Here we've got some space suit construction, here we've got Spaceship One, replicas for the X Prize, so it says. So they've got these miniature versions of Spaceship One. We've got education, of course, because what's better than to teach children lies about where they live and teach them all about an industry that has stolen about $5 trillion while providing absolutely nothing to humanity. Here you see this little plane, the X-31, in the foreground. It's a miniature shot at a NASA facility. Here we've got a miniature little barn with a person behind it. We've got the miniature Wienermobile, miniature helicopter, miniature car. miniature Saturn V, miniature submarine down in the lower left. Hey, they even got planet rental. In case you were looking to rent any planets, Pluto is currently being rented by NASA, so you won't be able to use that one. I think that they've turned in Saturn because the Cassini mission's over now. I think they've turned that back in, so you can give them a call if you want to rent Saturn. It is available for filming and then passing off to the American public and the world public, telling them that it's real, that we have crafts that are going around Saturn, some 800 million miles away, or whatever they want to claim. It's all a bunch of nonsense. Here you can see a ton of miniatures that have been used in various videos or movies. I even saw the trade centers up there. I see the Colosseum in the middle here. A myriad of ways to fool people, and yet still people want to believe that they can't be fooled. They're just too smart to be fooled. How could you ever fool them on a place they've never been? Here's all the movies. You can see Gravity, Interstellar, Apollo 18, Transformers, Arthur, The Abyss, Race Against Witch Mountain, Galactica. You've got Blown Away. You've got The Abyss again. You've got Marooned, Capricorn 1. You've got The Core. You've got The Rocketeer, Blown Away, Star Trek, all the different Star Treks, Voyager, and the many others. The Core, Project UFO, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Crash Dive. You've got Armageddon, The Martian, Apollo 11, Magnificent Desolation. That's Buzz Aldrin's film about his moon landing, which you need a lot of props and a lot of replicas to recreate the non-existent moon landings of Buzz Aldrin. Whole bunch of movies that have used Wonderworks, where they fake you out and you believe it. So let's see what else they've got here. I think that's pretty much it. They've got planes, trains, and ships. You'll see more copies of these miniatures, or you can actually see the shuttle again at Long Beach on the right there. So lots of ways to fool you, and they have received some awards, the Saturn Award, and you'll see down here some St. Christopher the Great or something, some Freemasonic award there as well. So thank you, Wonderworks, for fooling the world. We're very proud of you and your addition to humanity. And getting back to the pool, we can see here that even when we look through the camera, you can tell that the camera is almost recording an image that eliminates the idea of it being in water. You can see from this camera that you can't even see the bubbles that are happening above the astronaut. They kind of disappear. Is that something to do with the camera? I'm not sure. I wouldn't know, but it certainly is interesting. And as we can clearly see, these scuba divers are constantly helping the astronauts with every possible task. Yet when they get to space, they're on their own. Their life's on the line. Oh well, deal with it. That's, I guess, the way that we handle it. Earlier I mentioned about why they don't record in pitch black. Well, because if they did, it might look something like this. And this is too much for them to show, as it clearly shows almost the identical thing as a spacewalk. This is what we see when they're in space. So they don't want to show too much of the blacked out pool. Now you can also take a look here at somebody supposedly in space who is making bubbles, which is basically all the science that's been done in the 17 years that they've been on the ISS. Now, of course, you can take your pick of where you want to see this kind of science taking place, on the $150 billion ISS or on a $4,000 parabolic flight. Yes, you can do exactly what he's doing here on a parabolic flight for $4,000, and you can see clearly here that there's even cuts in this film. Clearly is not real. These guys are clearly jokers. We'll now take a look at a little video that was done that highlighted two filmmakers who went deep into the Kazakhstan desert at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. And what we see when we open these doors is the remnants of a long-lost Soviet space headquarters. And when he opens this door, you'll see what's still inside, as there are still two large shuttles that were never put into use. These shuttles were very close to being finished, but this is what happens when you realize that space travel is impossible and there's no use continuing on with this nonsense. So what do? Well, they condense their space program into a very simple to manage trickery which all takes place around the Soyuz capsules. Soyuzes take you to the ISS and back, and that's all they need to fake. No use for all of this equipment, the shuttles or all the cranes and everything else that was used, the insides. Nope, just throw it away. There's no use anymore. Nobody is going to space. However, they still do fake it. Here we can take a look at some of these images of the long forgotten Space Center with the shuttles, with all the equipment, all the interior. You'd think that stuff would still be of use, right? Well, not when space is fake. You don't need all this equipment at all. You would just leave it here. It does no good. You've already got your Soyuz to fake the world with. You'll be just fine. All the rest of this just sits here in the middle of the desert, growing dust and rust. So, now we'll move on to a final interesting subject here in regards to the American shuttles. So let's now listen to this guy describe the Enterprise prototype shuttle. He says it was orbital vehicle number 101. Then he states that the Challenger does not have an orbital flight designation because it wasn't meant to go to space. Very interesting. Let's hear.
It's sort of like a test vehicle.
Well, yes, it's the prototype. Now, it was built as a spaceship, and you can actually tell that by the designation NASA gave it, OV-101. All the orbital vehicles were going to be in the 100 series, with the exception of Challenger, which is a whole other story. And Challenger doesn't have that 100 series number. It was actually Structural Test Article 099. So it wasn't meant to fly in space, and this one was meant to go in space. The reaction control system was never installed, but it is represented here. You can see these gray kind of ovals and circles. That's where these little reaction motors would be. And these are just little tiny rocket motors that can help you pivot and maneuver, and even some of the larger ones can actually help alter your orbit a little bit. NASA does a very good job at saving money when they can, and one of the things they did is they reused all the instruments out of here. And I was able to find some of those. I actually found them in a government surplus auction. This kind of representation shows you how really kind of regular airplane it really was. This kind of representation shows you how really kind of regular airplane it really was. So you can see it's not complete. We include an image behind there that shows the complete instrument panel of Enterprise. The kind of interesting thing is that a lot of those things are standard. They're not, unique to a space shuttle.
So it really is just an airplane at best. This makes sense because, as I've said before, if we really did have 4 crafts that could take people to and from space, could dock with the space station, then why would they have possibly gotten rid of it? It isn't logical. Now we pay $81 million per astronaut just to be taken to the ISS. Of course, this is just a plane, and that's absolutely easy to scrap. So let's hear, can we actually go inside and check this thing out?
A lot of visitors come and say, hey, can I see the inside? And we'd love to show you, but this is a national treasure. There's no place to walk in there, but we did install a plywood catwalk down the center.
Can I touch it?
No.
I'm not allowed to, or you think I can?
You're not allowed to. She's serious.
So now we'll get to watch this big balloon take off. You can see it rocking back and forth here before it goes. It's released. There it goes. And then they call this a roll maneuver, which is really just what is required because your plane weighs more than the helium balloon. And here's a view that they tell us is from space, but clearly you can see that that is a view from a plane. Here we are watching the arm move away from the Spartan satellite, and of course, if you watch the shadow, it doesn't move. That certainly seems legit. So now what I'll let you do is enjoy some of your great American heroes. Ladies and gentlemen, the astronauts.
I ain't breaking out of been around, hear me out. The run around is all about how I severely count. Trying to buy a new house for bad gals. For Louis V throughout for my swag style. I ain't playing when I talk about slaying a vacation. Man at JFK got Jay standing ovation. I'm the greatest, chase chicks down from all places. Get ripped, start spitting in the fall faces. Tricks dipping, my payment ain't basic. Face it, I blow 100 racks on horse races. Trying to get creative, LA County native. And when it's Benjamin related, I am never patient and I am never gracious. The world ain't mine till I be buying spaceships. I am medications, I'm riding with the A-list. It's a celebration that most can't hang with, but heads start banging. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. The drums coming and I know that I'll be hurting something. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. I'm unstoppable, yo, so start running. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. The drums coming and I know that I'll be hurting something. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. I'm unstoppable, yo, so start running. At my smile, all up in you, getting wild. Money clouds got you shook when you look like a child. Now you walking out the room, face down, feeling took. I'm feeling real good, just prescribing dope books. Four-wheeling in my driveway, hasta la vista. I'm cheaping on the highway, got girls with no visas. Be leaving you to pieces if I tell them I don't need you. They sweeter than the Reese's, but attack like hyenas. Welcome to the arena, what up my girl Christina? She wearing Victoria and she from Argentina. Worship her like Athena, but money comes first. I'm bursting like Hiroshima, that ain't funny, but it works. No, I won't stop rapping till we out in orbit. Money like mine gets booty like Norbit. Never rains, always pouring hundreds on the floor. When I be coming through, start jumping on the chorus. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. The drums coming in, I know that I'll be hitting something. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. I'm unstoppable, yo, so start running. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. The drums coming in, I know that I'll be hitting something. I'm getting money, give me money like I work for something. I'm unstoppable, yo, so start running.
Like entry day because that's also let's be nice to the commander day on the shuttle. The other guys will do anything I want and all I have to do is ask for it, and they were really great. And so but the other side of it is then I have to turn their niceness into a nice landing. Unfortunately we had bad weather in Florida. I was looking for.
Let's watch this one more time. This is the orbiter coming back into the atmosphere, I guess. Poof. Poof. I don't know what that is, but it's not an orbiter coming back from space. That's all I know. So, as always, believe what you want. You want to believe you live on a ball spinning and flying through space? You're free to do so. If you want to believe in a place that you have never been and a spot you'll never go to, well, that's on you, not me. I'll keep asking questions and pointing out the obvious fraud of not just NASA, but each and every space agency and private space company. So be kind, don't lie, and open your mind and find your own truth. Till next time, this has been Journalism. Peace! Tethers get caught, or they have one of the cables hooked around something that if you yanked or pulled could cause a potential problem, then it would only make sense that if in the few final rounds of practice that they did it without the aid of several scuba divers per astronaut. But nope, as you can see, they are carried around and constantly assisted by the scuba team. Also, since space will be dark, why wouldn't they practice in the pool with the lights off? Well, the obvious answer is because then it would look just like space, and they don't want you seeing that. Here we can see the cameras and lights are again circled in red, and we also see circled in white the sign often given for OK, or as many of us have come to realize, the 666 hand signal. So you can see how the scuba divers act, that they are hiding at the bottom of the pool or making sure to stay out of the way of
astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you today. I wanted to point out a few things about NASA, or Roscosmos, or ESA, or JAXA. Doesn't really matter who, they're all faking us in the same ways. So on the screen now we have a NASA training session. This is usually done in the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, and this is when they practice in the pool with scuba divers nearby. So I want to point out first that there's these cameras and lights that we can see them often holding, and you see the ground when the ISS passes during the day, but you can't see it from the ground, and the fact that there's no 24/7 camera feed from the ISS showing the Earth because it does not exist and has never existed. And for those people who will just drop a link in the comment section to Space Videos or another channel that claims to show the ISS in live 24/7 viewing, please follow that link and check for yourself. There is no 24/7 camera. It's never existed now, nor has it existed in the 17 years that the tin can of science has been in perpetual orbit of the Earth. Yeah, it's pretty clear it's all a scam, and let me show you some evidence of that. First off, just remember that they always, 100% of the time, use scuba divers in practice. Well, this isn't logical at all, since the astronauts will not have any assistance in space. In a minute, I'll show you this in what they call an actual spacewalk, but we'll see that it's really just taking place probably in a pool. Usually you have a few scuba divers tending to the astronauts, and then a few are holding these cameras or lights. You can see that some are different colors, some are gray, some are beige, some are black. Now, it is my belief that this is an actual real practice for when they do spacewalks, because I don't think that they're actually in space. They're either in a pool or in a studio with wires. Of course, they do both. If they only did one way of tricking you, if you ever found out, they'd be done. But by using different methods, you can never really pinpoint one way, and so that's how they continue to trick us. If you have seen the movie Interstellar or Gravity, then you know that it's very easy to take out wires and harnesses. And if you've seen the show The Big Bang, there's a few clips where they're actually on the ISS and they're actually using stools. It's really quite easy to edit out and to fool an unaware human race. Pretty pathetic if you ask me. They fool us and even reward each other with Nobel Prizes and other such accolades because of the level of mastery in dumbing down society. When you realize that there is no live spacewalks, you should then realize that there is a chance that you've been fooled. Many can't even entertain that thought. They have been built up with ego that they are so smart it's not possible they could be fooled ever. People think because they can catch sight of the ISS go over their head that it means people must be inside it. No other possibilities, I guess. Well, when you realize that you can see it at night, when you can't verify from the ISS that it can see you, and you can